Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gaming Pubcast, episode 21. How are you both? Got Tom and Duncan with us. Or with
Yay,
me.
all three of us.
Hello.
Good,
Doing well.
And, happy to...
Excuse me. All good.
Trying not to cough through the podcast today.
Yeah, we don't want to get
He says as Duncan coughs straight away. That was me who coughed.
Yeah, we don't want to get our listeners catching anything from us through the podcast or YouTube video. But other than you feeling a bit rough, Tom, how's your week been? Gaming-wise, have you played any new games or whatever you want to share?
Well, mainly Resident Evil 7 on the PlayStation VR. I decided to inappropriately introduce my 12-year-old to that game. But he took it well. I mean, he's very much into anime. And I thought, you know what, he can take this. And after 10 minutes, he swiftly disappeared and said, I'm not playing this. It's too scary. So maybe I made a parental faux pas. So, but
No.
I then continued playing it, of course. So, yeah, for those who haven't played it, it's set in a forest where there's a house, and you kind of go back through old memories, and you watch VHS cassettes if anyone remembers those. And
you have basically a horrible family, don't you? That's like to eat entrails and whatnot.
That's it. It's kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but with that. Well, no, there is a chainsaw in it as well, actually. So it's essentially that. And you're stalked by this woman who is really your girlfriend, but she's kind of possessed, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I played it once on VR. I found a corner that the man at the beginning who's following you can't get you, and literally sat there and refused to move. So I'm with your son there.
Though even without VR, I found Resident Evil 7 one of the more creepier Resident Evil games. Let's see.
It was definitely a reboot, wasn't it, of this?
Yeah, because they sort of went away from that, didn't they, with Resident Evil 5 and 6 and made it more sort of a shoot 'em up. And then they've sort of went back with Resident Evil 7, and then Village has also gone more that creepy side.
Lady Dimitrescu.
It's almost verging on Silent Hill now, isn't it? It's going that direction, and it really works, I feel.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, they've been 5 and 6 were not rated very highly, and 7 and 8 are your recommended games that everybody raves about, but I just can't get past the initial scariest bits. So
I quite like number 5 as well on the co-op, because I played that with my friend. But
was that the one in Africa?
One with spiders? I think it might. Yeah, I think you did go to. There is one with spiders, isn't there? But I can't remember which one is that.
Yeah, there's one where you're in like a camp in Africa, isn't it? And then
there is. Yeah. I think that's the one. I think that's 5, isn't it?
Isn't that on the Wii? Is that on the Wii, that one, or the Wii U or something?
4 was on the Wii.
I think.
5 was on 360.
Yeah, I think I played it PlayStation 3 when I played it with my friend, and we really enjoyed it. But most games that you could play co-op couch, we would enjoy, just because you'll play, like Army of Two was like another one that we used to really enjoy, because you used to be able to go back to back. Any scenario where it was getting difficult, just shout back to back, and then that's it. You're invincible then.
Yeah, excellent.
We didn't know if that's accurate or not. If we were in a gunfight and then me and Duncan or Tom decided to go back to back, if we just become invincible, just no one can.
I never actually played It Takes Two cooperatively. Army of Two. Sorry,
two very different games. It Takes Two.
A very different game.
It Takes Two is a very good game as well. I like that.
Army of Two. The first one was quite good, but then the second one not so good, if I remember rightly. But yeah, decent shooting. Okay game. But yeah, Resident Evil 5 and 6. I couldn't get into either of them, but 7 I'd love to get into. I just get too wussy.
It's quite a long game, actually. I mean, I've got quite far on it, but it's quite a long game to play.
Well, speaking of horror games, I have actually completed Alan Wake 2.
Yay!
So yeah, other than the jump scares, you sort of get used to the jump scares in a way, and the initial area that you play a lot of the game in, which is called Cauldron Lake, it is very creepy and dark, and you get past, once you got past that bit, it's not as scary. There are some big jump scares, but yeah, story wise, great, graphics great. Can't recommend it enough. It's a very good game. Although, if you've seen a video I posted on our Facebook, yeah, there are some characters in it. It's like, nope, don't want to see them ever again in my life.
Yeah.
They're pretty terrifying.
Is it on Game Pass?
It is not on Game Pass, but Control was definitely on Game Pass quite quickly, I think. It was one of the test games, I think, on Steam Deck and all sorts. So Remedy have a tendency to be involved with all the hardware developers. So you never know. Give it 6 months, a year, and yeah, hopefully, because I think everybody should play it. I won't spoil any endings or anything. How can I describe the ending?
It ended.
If the ending of Inception annoyed you, the ending of Alan Wake will possibly annoy you. That's all I'll say. If you liked the ending of Inception, no, it's story-wise, it's nothing to do with Inception, just the style of ending. Then you'll like the ending to Alan Wake, and it's actually easier to understand than if you watch individual scenes. It's all very complicated and very verbose and whatnot, but the overriding story is quite easy to understand. I got it all right, so I was very happy.
The question is, do we watch Inception first or play Alan Wake?
Well, as I said, story-wise, it's not the same story, so there isn't going within dreams of dreams of dreams kind of thing, like in Inception. But there is the way the ending is done. If you remember with the spinny top in Inception, I don't know if you have seen it. Have you seen Inception?
I have, but it was a while ago. So
long time ago.
Anyway, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, other than to say it's a definite game of the year contender, definitely, and as it is, and it should be.
Game Awards will be next week, won't they? So
they are. We're recording this on the 30th, so they're a week tomorrow for us. So there'll be 5 days after this episode comes out.
Interesting to see. So we spoke a little bit about last week, didn't we? Which was So fingers crossed. Yeah, Alan Wake will get acknowledged, I think, in at least some categories. I think it definitely deserves it. It looks good.
What have you been playing, Martin?
Myself? Not much, to be fair. I've been continuing to play EA FC 24.
Have you gone up a division?
No, because they had a new season. So when that happens,
you get reset, do you?
Yeah, you go back to where you began. I was like playing it, and I was like, "What's going on?" But my team is a lot better because I'm just getting. I'm not buying actually money, but buying packs on there with virtual money. So my team is good. Pretty good, but I'm not really going to go too much into EA because that's the last couple of weeks. That's all I spoke about. I've also played this week Oddworld Soulstorm. So
yes,
I always like the original Abe's on the PlayStation. So I saw it on, and I think it's been on there. It's been out for quite a while, and I think it's been on PlayStation Plus for quite a while as well. But I thought, well, I've seen it, and I thought, I'll give it a go. And I've
2D? Is it 2D?
2D, yeah, but it's a good visually, I like it in terms of how it looks. It's pretty similar to sort of the original games where there are some things now, like you've got like bombs that you can. They're like, it's hard to explain that, but like water bombs to like get rid of fire and stuff like that. And
the original one was PlayStation 1, wasn't it? It's fantastic graphics on PlayStation 1, but 2D. What do you describe it? A puzzle platformer.
But
it It was tough as nails the further you got into it. So,
I remember.
Is this one as tough as
it isn't as tough? It's still quite tough. There are some bits which are like, but I haven't had a bit yet where on the PlayStation where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get past that thing without waking it up and him shooting me or whatever. The toughest bits are the mines where you've got to like click it just when it's green or it'll blow you up. I always struggled, and that was on the original one if I remember right. Now I always struggled with that, and that's on there now because you've got to do it like the ribbon. You've got to get the ribbon right and then click it.
You'd have to run, stop, roll, and then press something, lift something up, run away, run back, and jump, and you'd have to do it all. The later you get, the more pixel perfect you have to be.
Yeah,
and I didn't do the original without a guide. I did complete the original game, but only with a guide, very much a guide, because it was tough. It was really hard.
Yeah. So so this one hasn't. There has been some tough bits, but compared to the original.
Does it have a fart button?
Pardon?
Does it have a fart button still?
Oh, yeah, good point. I don't think it. Well, if it does, I haven't found it yet. Yeah.
It's gone from a 9 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10, then, really, hasn't it? Because the original one, you could just press a button and he'd fart, and all the other what they call the gurks or something.
Muckadens?
Muckadens, those, and all the other ones would giggle, and it was just brilliant. You'd walk into an area, fart, they'd all laugh, and then something would kill you.
I like taking control of the bad. What are they called? The ones with the guns. But I like when you take control of them and get them to like shoot each other or whatever, and you can get them to walk in their own fire or whatever.
Sligs, slogs, scrabs, paramites, and bats. Sligs will shoot on sight, apparently.
Yeah, so if there's ever mines about and I can see one of those slig things, then I won't bother trying. I just get the sligs just to walk into them, and then that clears the mine for me. Then, but yeah, it's so far very fun, good. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, it's
is it on Xbox or is this a PlayStation? I'm just looking.
No, it's on Xbox.
It is on
Xbox. But I don't know if it's on Game Pass, but it is on.
I don't believe it is. No, it's actually it came out in 2021.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. I don't know if it initially came out on PlayStation and then made its way over to Xbox, but because it was like the original ones were only Xbox, weren't they? No, PlayStation, and then there were ones that only came out on Xbox.
Yeah, there's the 3D ones, which were okay. They were good. They just didn't grab me as much as the 2D ones did. There was a sequel, wasn't there? Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus, I think was the sequel. But then you had, I can't remember what the 3D ones were. They weren't Abe either, though. They were just the Oddworld universe. They're pretty good though.
They did a HD remix version as well, didn't they? A couple of years back.
Yes, I think so.
Just reading about it, and it says that apparently the Soulstorm is a 2.5D. So whatever that is, the middle.
It just means the background is 3D, and you might be able to slightly interact with the background. That's all that means. I don't know, like in Super Mario Wonder, where you might have the background that you can then interact. You can go back into the background and have a little bit of platforming, then come back to the foreground in a 2D platformer. So that's all 2.5D means. Sounds like a fantastic game though. Hopefully it will come to Game Pass because it's the kind of game that I'd love to play, but I don't think I'd want to buy it. But then I'd love it when I played it on Game Pass. So is that a 9 out of 10 kind of thing?
I wouldn't go that far because it is good. It's like an enjoyable game, but I wouldn't compare it to your. It's not like a AAA, and not that every game has to be a AAA game, but it's it's limited in what it is, but what it is, it's very good.
Is it showing its age? The sort of the style of game it is.
I think I think it still looks visually, it looks good, but yeah, I mean, compared to what you can do on other games, you're just, it's very linear in terms of you can only go to certain places, and it's just it's open. But obviously, when it came out on PlayStation, that was
it was amazing.
Yeah, graphically it was incredible.
But yeah, obviously, compared to what other stuff out now, it's but
it is funny that something that was so beautiful 20 years ago is now we'd go, it's a bit old, and and a new version that looks even prettier. We're like, whatever. But that's what happens for gaming.
Lines move on. Yeah.
But in terms of good graphics and Game Pass, I have played the trial of Immortals of Avium, which is the EA first-person magic shooter game. It's the first game ever that's made my Xbox fan go into overdrive. I actually heard it and went, "Whoa, blimey! All right, should I be worried?" I'm not. But it's an Unreal 5 game, so it is graphically very good. The trial lets you play through the sort of intro and up until you go into a battle, and you play a couple of big bosses, and it's okay. It's not a game where I'll be like, "Wow, I've got to buy that immediately," because it's EA and I've got Game Pass, so eventually it'll come to EA Play, which is on Game Pass. I think that's the problem EA's got at the moment, is that a lot of people, other than the people who get things like EAFC 24, is that a lot of people with their story-based games are just like, I'll just wait till it comes on EA Play. And
I would EA Play if you've got Game Pass.
Yep, EA Play is part of Game Pass.
All right.
It was only £20 a year. I used to pay for it. And because even now you can buy EA Play, and if you've got Game Pass Ultimate, you can put the codes in, and they'll, for a ratio of, you'll get a certain amount of Game Pass Ultimate. And at one point, a year of EA Play was getting you for 20. Well, not even that. It was getting you a really good ratio, so you could get loads of Game Pass. But yeah, Immortals, it's a great looking game. It plays okay. There are some times where the frame rate drops a bit, and it feels, and there's no ability to turn the motion blur off. Which I don't know about you two. Do you two turn those things off? I always turn motion blur off if it gives me the option, which most PC games do. But
never really thought about it, to be honest.
No. I can't stand it. It just makes everything look blurry when you're moving. So turn it off, and you'll get a much crisper image. Yeah, motion blur is meant to make things look good when it's only 30 frames per second, but it doesn't. It doesn't look good. Personally, I'd love someone to argue with me, but most people who actually care about it being off. Duncan's recommendation of the episode: turn off motion blur if you have the opportunity. Horrible thing, and there is no option in Immortals of Avium. So
apparently, Ark Ascended is about to hit Game Pass.
Oh, is it coming to Game Pass? Is it?
Apparently so.
I mean, I own the original, so it's not a free upgrade then.
No, they were talking about that, but it never happened. So, but yeah, this is kind of to fund Ark 2 as such. So,
yes. Because Ark 2 is in the works, isn't it?
They sort of run out of money, I think, so they needed to do an interim. But today it came out on general release for PlayStation and Xbox. from what I've been looking at, it's...
Oh, no, it's not. No, I'm just looking up now. Everyone's saying it is not on Game Pass.
It's not yet, but apparently it's imminent.
Okay, Arc 2, I can imagine. I think they've said that is, haven't they? But that's not coming out till next year, so...
No.
Yeah. But personally, I just got too burnt with the fact that if you play on the public servers, unless you're playing about 100 hours a week, everything gets destroyed, and you need to be on there all the time, at least once every couple of hours. Even if you can't sleep if you go on the public servers, because you have a little hut and it'll just get destroyed.
My kid loves it, but again, it annoyed me when they shut the servers down and he had all these extras. Could barely use any of them. I know you can use the private servers, but it's not the same. So I found it frustrating. Yeah,
I mean, playing on a local, on your device via console, is not a good experience, because anybody that joins you has to stay within a certain distance of you. It's not good. It's not a good good experience.
But he wants it ascended on Steam Deck, so I think he'll be good there.
Ooh, ascended on Steam Deck. I don't know whether it'll be, because it's an Unreal 5 game and it's quite graphically powerful. Although there should be probably good settings for it. I don't know what the minimum specs are, but I believe it's quite a powerful game. I'm just looking at the minimum specs. Okay. GeForce 1080 is the minimum, which generally, it might make the Steam Deck cry a bit, but you might get a low frame rate version, so you might get it slowing down.
Yeah.
But just turn all the settings down to minimum, and hey presto, it should be playable.
You'll figure it out.
But don't expect the best experience ever.
You can always dock it and play it in desktop mode. That would work.
Still going to be, well. In fact, if it's at 1080p, it's going to be even worse. But your best bet is hopefully that it works well with FSR and can upgrade it a bit, make it look a bit prettier. But you probably need a half decent PC for that, or a console,
or you'll get it on the PlayStation 5.
Yep, PlayStation 5. I think. Although I think a lot of the problems that were on it when it originally came out are being ironed out. So should be good.
Time will tell.
Or a Nintendo Switch.
Oh, blimey.
They've just got the Arkham collection on the Switch. I'm very impressed.
Yes. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that came out on the 360, didn't it? All of them. But hang on, did City come out on 360, or did that come out just on Xbox One era?
The final game, I'm surprised they've managed to get it on the Switch, because that was pretty advanced.
That was City, wasn't it? You had Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. Oh, I'm struggling to think of the other one. Can anyone think of the other one?
No, actually.
I think,
Origins. You had Arkham Origins.
That was terrible, that game.
Is that part of the trilogy? I haven't really looked. Arkham trilogy. But
talking of trilogies, just to take it off the subject a little bit, we can come back to Arkham. Did you see that Grand Theft Auto trilogy is coming out on Netflix?
No.
So, from December the 14th, you'll be able to play the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition, the trilogy, on Netflix. So if any of you have Netflix,
I don't. I have lost Netflix. But are you talking? Is this mobile versions or?
So Definitive Edition is what's it? Vice City, San Andreas, and Grand Theft Auto 3 other free games on it.
Is this playable? You can play them on mobile.
It's coming to Netflix on December the 14th for Netflix members on the App Store, Google Play, and Netflix mobile app.
Google Play.
Yeah.
Starting today.
Put some parental controls on Netflix at this rate.
It's like you can get Netflix kids, can't you? Hopefully it won't appear on there.
Would you like to watch Teletubbies or shoot a hooker?
You're watching Peppa Pig. We recommend Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah, I think my kids would.
Peppa Pig and CJ are going to pop some caps in people.
How do you play it though? So you would have to get a controller and link it to what your. Can you link controllers to like TVs?
Yeah,
you can. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's got touch controls, I'd go. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Just if you've never played a GTA before. Yeah, get a controller and connect a controller to whatever device you're playing it on. Do not play it touchscreen.
I don't have Netflix at the moment, but when I did have it, it was on my TV, my smart TV. But could I connect a controller to my smart TV, or would it?
Yeah, if it's got a Bluetooth, then definitely.
Well, I don't know, but can you actually play it on the TV app versions?
I hope so.
Well, you can play the games they have on there at the moment. So
because they've actually bought the things like a few developers, like the Oxenfree developer. I can't remember who that was because Oxenfree 2 was exclusively on Netflix for a while.
Yes. Yeah, it says at the bottom here, the definitive edition adds to a growing catalogue of more than 80 mobile games. Must-play titles across all genders. The value all then Netflix membership including the most iconic series in history without ads, in-app purchases, or extra fees. But I don't know if you'd hope so, wouldn't you? Because really, surely that would be the best experience.
Yeah, I mean, because most of their games at the moment are mobile games, but they're big scale ones. It's a bit like Apple Arcade, is it? Where some of the Apple Arcade games are, pretty good and graphically good and big name games, but they are only playable on iOS devices. But yeah, they're playable on Apple TV and whatnot. So yeah, if you could play on Android TV, that would be good, I suppose. But whatever device, like I said, you've got to have a controller.
I always use my Stadia controller for anything I need a controller for. It's such a good controller.
All the main controllers now are all Bluetooth enabled. So whether it's Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, or Stadia, you can connect them all via Bluetooth. And I highly recommend it for playing GTA because I think they've had GTA 3 and maybe San Andreas. I think is on mobile already, not definitive editions. And they're not very good. They're not.
Were you saying that it's currently like a touch screen? Is it?
Yeah. You can use touchscreen controls, and it's not good.
My image on my head was I would be sitting there playing with my TV remote, and I'm thinking that sounds horrific.
Oh God. Oh, that sounds awful. Yes.
Changing the channel, turning the volume up.
You just tried to work out how to change the camera.
Really long, thin controller with like no.
Because I don't know how much you've played like San Andreas, but the radio controlled car and helicopter missions.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Could you imagine trying to play those with a TV remote? Or touchscreen. Oh no, they were really hard enough with with
really
controllers
buttons as well. Yeah, probably get stuck as well during like when you're trying to press a button. So yeah, that was I was like,
oh dear,
my naivety.
So are we slowly seeing Netflix creep into the Game Pass sort of?
Oh, they've invested a lot of money. I mean, as I said, they've bought up a load of developers.
Yeah.
Only smallish ones, but ones who've had some successes.
I suppose once they get a smaller catalogue, the bigger ones will jump on board.
Yeah, and if they've got Rockstar on board, Yeah, who's to say that they won't get others on board? If they get someone like EA or Ubisoft or something like that, and they can get things onto mobile. And could you imagine playing, I don't know, Assassin's Creed 4 on your phone, but with a controller? That'd be amazing.
I always think we need a streaming platform. I know Xbox have Ant Games, but I think if we had Ant Streamers, if we had a platform like Netflix offering retro games, going right back to the 80s, right up to modern day, you would have a killer platform. All the old
we've always thought maybe Nintendo should release like some sort of service where it has all, and they could obviously, it doesn't have to just be Nintendo games, but they just came to my mind. But they could, they hear like if you want to play all the Zelda games for like a subscription and all these Mario games.
But why would Nintendo do that when they could just make you buy it 20 times for each device that's out?
Yeah.
But then if they had 10 million subscribers all paying £10 a month, then
this is the thing. Game Pass, I think, is Microsoft setting themselves up for the future. And the only reason that PlayStation Plus has come along, I think, although there was PlayStation Now before, I think is because Sony have gone, hang on a minute. They're actually, we're looking at 20 years in the future here. It's going to be all Microsoft if we're not careful.
Yeah. Is it an affordable platform to continue based on the cost that they spend out?
You will get naysayers who might be right, saying that Game Pass will be, will have to be hiked in price. But at the end of the day, at the moment, they're not. So
I guess it depends on how many subscribers they have, doesn't it? Yeah. The more, it's like Netflix. People are saying, how can they carry on making all these like Stranger Things for £7 a month, whatever? But then if they got 100 million subscribers, I don't know. That might be completely.
Yeah, no. They got more than that. I think
if they got 100 million
near the 200 million. Yeah. I think
they're getting a vast amount of money coming through every month. So obviously, Game Pass isn't on Netflix level, but they're trying to creep into everything, isn't it? Like if you get a PC, you can get Game Pass. If you get an NVIDIA Shield, you can get Game Pass. If you can get Game Pass on the Asus ROG Ally. All these other different platforms, which you would think would be counterproductive because you think people wouldn't then buy their console, but I think they're more interested in people buying Game Pass rather than their actual consoles.
Absolutely.
It's definitely the future. I think that as we get more wearable devices, having Game Pass accessible in what you wear, what you hold, what you look at on the TV, that's the future. Consoles will become obsolete in due course.
And talking about that obsolete, because obviously home consoles replace arcades, wasn't it really?
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about streaming potentially replacing home consoles. So
nice.
Will home consoles ever become like arcades were? Or do you think they're like you just literally said it, Tom, that you think in the future that it will just be more streaming?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the infrastructure isn't there worldwide for streaming to be everywhere. But then I saw I was on a subreddit the other day, and it was called map porn. It wasn't porn. It was just maps with different statistics, and one of them was the fastest and the slowest countries in the world for the internet. And even the slowest ones in the world were, 2 megabit per second and 4 megabit per second, which, 10 years ago, those would have been, pretty much dial-up speeds. And so if we can get, whether it's Africa, Asia, Europe, the Americas, whatever, we can get everybody in the world able to access, hopefully for free or just being able to access in some way, then just have any old device that streams that people can go, right, I pay, let's say in the UK, £10 a month, to access Game Pass, and I can stream for free at any of these points. It means I can take my device anywhere I want and stream, and I can game. I can take my phone.
It makes sense.
If it became that popular, though, they would have to do stuff with their servers, because even now with certain games, when they first come out, if you try and go on certain games on day one, it can almost be impossible because the servers just keep crashing, or it takes you about 30 minutes to get into the game. So I guess if it became so popular that was the whole gaming market was streaming, they would have to invest a lot in servers.
Yeah. But I think I think was it the PlayStation 5 where they spent almost $500 million on development over a period of time, and it was all the product lineup. So you got the PlayStation 5 original, the PlayStation 5 Slim, the VR headset, and the Portal device. I think it's something like $500 million in development, and then you got your exclusive games on top of that.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
You take all that money away and you put that into streaming. The impact you can have without the need for an actual device. Plus, you look at the sourcing materials, the design, the concepts, everything else. You take all that away and just focus on the games and the ability to stream under any condition, you're onto a winner.
Yeah. I mean, in this country, I mean, obviously it uses a lot less data, but in this country, you can get I'm just making this up, but let's say you can go with EE and they'll say you can access for Facebook for free.
Yeah.
It doesn't use your data. It doesn't use your data allowance.
That's right.
Or you might say, or they might have a deal with YouTube and say you get a deal. You can access YouTube on the go, and it doesn't count towards your data at all. Now, if you could have that, the problem is obviously that something like Xbox Cloud or GeForce Now or whatever, they use a lot more data than YouTube. Well, depends on obviously the resolution and whatnot, but yeah. So if you can have it though, where I've got a phone in my pocket and I can play any game I want without downloading it, just by tapping a button. It doesn't matter if I'm sitting on a mountain or if I'm sitting in a coffee shop in the middle of London, that I can play that game without downloading it, without having to download 2 gigabytes or 15 gigabytes. Diablo Immortal is currently taking up on my phone. 15 gigabytes. That's a mobile game. So if I could just go beep and play it, I think that would be great. But it can't cost me for that privilege. Because then I'm going to go, I don't want to play Diablo. I want to play this very simple pixel game.
So I think we can honestly say to our listeners, come back in episode 200. By that point, we should have a definitive answer about the future of gaming.
I think, but I must say, I thought that Martin was doing a really clever segue into
I did as well.
Into arcades.
Because
you mentioned arcades.
I did, and then I was like...
You segued into it and then segued out of it.
And then I swerved off into some horrible wilderness and started talking about...
Hang on, Martin.
Servers.
Did you mention arcades? Oh, would you like to talk about arcades, Martin?
Yes, we're talking about the future. Now let's talk about the past.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It's Arcades Part 2 as well, isn't it? Really?
Well, yes, we did have a preview of chatting about it, and we did say that we would chat about arcades, didn't we? We have been, just FYI, it's 38 minutes, so, we've got to fit the whole arcades thing in about, let's say, 20 minutes.
So Martin, what's your favourite arcade machine?
It's my favourite arcade. That shouldn't take too long. So we were having a brief chat, weren't we, before? And I said I reckon I was born after the 1989.
He's a baby.
Yeah, I am a little baby. So I
But you equally, you live in the same kind of place as we do. Yours is like a holiday resort.
Town, I do, yeah.
Yes,
so I do have a big pier. So my memories come from being on.
Hang on. I'm just going to go off gaming a second. We live in the town with the longest pier in the world. So no, you don't have a big pier. We have a big pier.
It might be long, but is it?
It's
all about the
you say.
It's
It's not long. It's what you do with it that counts.
Exactly. It's all about the girth, not the length, Duncan. You should see our peers.
Yeah, we definitely don't have the skills to use our peer correctly. That's for sure.
I think ours is it might not be anymore because
ours has burned down a lot more times than yours. Thank you very much.
In fact, ours had the end knocked off it, and it's still the longest pier. So
we do have two piers. We do have two piers.
Oh.
So if you put them together, and one of our piers is the only pier that starts on the mainland, and finishes on an island.
Nice.
If people can work out where I live from that.
This is the Pier Pubcast.
So but that pier is like no one goes on it. There's like a sign going like warning: if you try to go on this pier, you will like risk dying. Essentially, it does say that. It's like the Walking Dead sign, like there's like do warning death or whatever. So,
is there any derelict arcade machines on that old pier?
Not on that old pier. That's a Victorian one.
Okay.
So even that was probably a bit. But our newer pier, which was probably, I can't remember. I don't know the date. Does have. So that's like, according to their website, they're the most modern pier in the world. But their website is probably a bit outdated, so I imagine there might be another pier somewhere else in the world that is now more up to date. But that did burn down, and they rebuilt it. I can remember it when it was before it was burnt down, and playing arcade games with my friends. Mainly the shooting games was the ones that we would be like mostly attracted to, because you stand there both. The House of Dead are the ones that like I remember, where you like shoot away from the screen to reload. Time Crisis as well, where what I found annoying about those games, when you would die and your friend was still alive and you have to just stand there watching them like in a and I wasn't really old enough. What was that?
That's Southend Pier.
I take it back.
Look, I'm on the pier.
Yeah, that is long.
Duncan's got a long one behind him for anyone that's not watching the YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to say, this doesn't work for the audio podcast. I just put a background up that has Southend Pier on it, which is very long. It's 1.25 miles, in case you're wondering.
I don't have a clue how you did that, Duncan. If I knew, I would get Weston Pier behind me. But
now we know where you live.
Anyway, you carry on talking about. You carry on talking.
Yeah, so House of Dead, Time Crisis. As I was saying, I really enjoyed that. Unless you died before your friend, then you had to stand there watching them carry on the game when you're obviously and I wasn't at an age where I was adult enough to be fine with it. I would just get in a bit of a strop and I'd be like, come on, die now so we can go on a different game. So shooting games. Also, the racing games were also always good.
There you go. I found Weston Pier.
Hopefully, that's not a live scene of Weston Pier. That was before. I know, actually.
But for those on the audio podcast, I just put a image of Weston Pier when it was on fire. That looks pretty big. I hope everybody was all right in that, but
no one died. No,
excellent. That's
no arcade machines died in the burning of this pier.
Then that's hilarious.
A lot of 2P machines did die. You can go. You go to Western Museum. They got burnt 2Ps everywhere because they decided to exhibit it. So
oh dear. Oh, sorry,
very sad day.
We'll go on to keep interrupting you.
I was going to say I've wasted 5 minutes of putting pictures of piers up.
You said about how we needed to be quick on a.
No, we can be as long as we want, but just
But only if you know how to use it, right?
So for the racing games, I used to like Sega Rally. That was on there.
Oh, Sega Rally,
good one.
I had that on the Sega Saturn, so I always liked it.
And the Daytona USA,
Outrun, those sort of just Crazy Taxi. How do I forget about Crazy Taxi? I think
Crazy Taxi. I loved it when I had it on Dreamcast. I tried it in the arcade and it just felt like a cash grab because it just cut the time. The time was really tight.
Yeah,
like,
and you had the steering wheel as well, which was not easy to control.
No, it wasn't because it's quite a big steering wheel, wasn't it? No, I wasn't a fan of the arcade version of that, but I did have it on Dreamcast, which was awesome.
Yeah,
and then you've got your beat 'em ups, and like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat.
Have you ever? I don't suppose I've ever asked either of you. Have either of you been more than just good at a game? Like, has there been any arcade games, especially maybe, or home games where you've been? No, people don't beat me generally.
Street Fighter 2 in the arcade, I was pretty good, but home-wise, Super Mario Kart on the SNES, I've never been beat.
So I won't play you on that then.
And as I said a few episodes ago, I had a record for one of the tracks, which, as far as I understand, hasn't been beat so far. So
we tried to look it up, and the record they had was worse than the record you set, wasn't it? Online, according to the online one.
I have tried to do that again and get close to it, but I think my eyes are not as good as they used to be. So.
Were you?
Yeah, 2 years ago, I wasn't wearing these. So
no, I didn't wear glasses back then.
I always wore glasses. So, were there any arcade places in Southend, Tom, or Duncan? West? I know Duncan.
Well, I come from Worcestershire originally, and there was when I was probably 10 to 15, kind of thing.
But were there any place where you'd walk in and then
there was
a high score screen? It'd say Duncan.
Oh God, no! I was never actually that good. Although there was a leisure centre that had, this probably would have been in the late 80s. Had 3 arcade games. One was a vertical shoot 'em up. Yeah, vertical shoot 'em up. And it was one where you shot every time you tapped the button. So we used to play it after I was in a running club. Yeah, believe it or not, fat me used to be a runner. And so we always used to have people that were good at pressing really hard, really fast, me, pressing the fire button, and other people who were really good at dodging and shooting all things, having the joystick. So yeah, horizontal shoot 'em ups. I think there was quite a few times where I was half of a high score, but that was just in a leisure centre in Redditch, in Worcestershire.
Southend was a whole different ball game in the late 80s, early 90s.
What was
we had Southend? We had Southend and Canby seafronts. They had arcade places that would run from one end of the seafront to the other, and you had things like all the original Space Invaders, Super Mario Bros, RoboCop. Then you had Star Wars arcade trilogy. You had
is that the one where you had the tunnel, the what's it called, you fly through and shoot the things in the I can't remember what's the word.
So you had the sit down one, which was with one joystick, and you would fight Darth Vader, and then you do the X-Wing tunnel and stuff like that. That was graphically really impressive. Run on the Sega Model 3, I think it was, arcade unit. And then you had the original early 80s, late 70s vector graphics Star Wars as well. But you literally could walk down the run and you'd have over 1,000 arcades. Now you've probably got about 300 down there. And we also have an arcade place in town as well, which is not too bad, Astro City.
Yes, Astro City in Southend, for anybody that's listening in the UK. Fantastic. I mean, it's nowadays, I think it's a lot of places that still have arcades do this, where you don't pay for a game, you pay to go in somewhere and everything's on free play.
Yeah.
And a lot of places that do that, but generally I've found a couple of places like this. Generally the quality of them, because they don't make much money, the quality of them is not great. there's quite a lot of broken things.
Yeah, we also have in London we had at Piccadilly Circus the Sega World exhibit, which was 3 floors of arcades. They also had the virtuality VR systems where you could play, and I did actually download a list of games. You had Dactyl Nightmare, Grid Busters, Legend Quest, and you would go around with a sword and you'd be hitting people with a virtual sword. And you had this big helmet on that was attached, or there was another one where you sat in a car. They always broke. They always went wrong. They were, I think, £10 a go. £10 was in the early 90s. So
in the early 90s, £10 ago. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of money.
That was a day out. That was easily.
That was. You had to make a choice between about 15 goes on other things or this one go on this one thing, you go home. But it was queues, massive queues. But yeah, it's fantastic. And I used to spend a lot of time playing as Chun-Li on Street Fighter 2. And
it's because she was easy to do a little move with hitting the kick button.
And she was easy, yeah.
Oh,
she was always having it off with Zangief. We all know that.
No, not. Oh God, I can't remember his name now. The sumo.
Oh God.
Oh, what's the sumo? Oh God, what's the sumo in Street Fighter 2 called?
Can't remember. No,
that's really gonna sumo Street Fighter.
Yokozuna.
I was thinking
Honda.
Honda.
That's the Yokozuna was the
WWF. Yeah.
That's what I think. Initially, when I was thinking Yokozuna, and I was like, no, he's that WWF.
Actually, that brings us to some other games. Who remembers WWF Arcade?
Yes, I think so.
Mortal Kombat type graphics, but it was in a wrestling ring.
No, I don't know what looked like photo style.
Yeah, it was called it was a WWF arcade game, and it was released on PlayStation, Sega Saturn.
Was it WrestleMania? WrestleMania. Did you say?
Yeah, WWF, I think it was at the time, and it had like Undertaker, Bret Hart, the Hitman Hart, and various others, and they're all digitized, and it was fantastic. Really, really great game. Really fun to play.
I didn't play it, but I have seen it. I saw something on Facebook, and the graphics, obviously compared to nowadays, aren't, but they were really good. Like, considering how old, So I think it's got WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. It was we're talking
I've never seen the photorealistic one.
Really good, and he had special moves as well, a bit like Mortal Kombat.
It would be stages, wouldn't it? And you had to like just see the wall, and they would just keep coming in until
apparently it came out on the Genesis, and photorealistic. I'm just watching a GIF of it. Oh wow, yeah, it's very much like Mortal Kombat. And although there's no blood, it's sweat and sparkles by the looks of it.
So but Undertaker would like do a toot, and then like a gravestone would appear or something like that, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah. I think the best version was on the SNES. I hate to say it, but it was. And I think they did plan a version on the Game Boy, but I don't think it was ever released, if I remember rightly.
Because I feel like you probably both have more experience on arcade. So, out of the arcade games that you've played, what's like the best arcade game that's translated onto a home?
See, I was just thinking about that, and there is the fact that the best ones for me was when you had a friend there, or you just had random people there, and there's 2 games: Simpsons 4-player and Turtles 4-player.
Yeah.
So good when you've got 4 people, as well as the fact that what you could always do is wait until there was one player playing by themselves, wait till they died, and then put another 10 pence in. Because we're talking 10 pence ago, back in the 90s. But 4-player Turtles was so good. You're sitting there with 3 random people quite often, and in the one in Redditch, sometimes some dodgy old men, and And yeah, it was just great because you're there like, oh, put another 10 pence in. Oh, I'll help you out with this. And although I say, yeah, you waited until the last person died to put in to get near the end, what you actually did was go, oh my God, they're dying. And you put another 10 pence in. And yeah, they were good. Just great.
What I really like, sorry, Duncan.
No, go on.
What I really liked from home consoles, which obviously came from arcade, were the, when on the place with the ray guns. I think NES had it with Duck. Was it Duck Hunt?
Yeah.
But the one I remember most is Point Blank, which
G-Con, the G-Con. Yeah. Yes, I was just about to say, if it's light guns, it's got to be G-Con, and you could pay for the one that actually clicked and every time you clicked it like pulled the trigger, it clicked. Oh, so good! Totally
Lethal Enforcer,
Martin.
Do you remember that?
Sorry, Top.
I was going to say, what about Lethal Enforcer? Do you remember that one?
Oh,
they had a home console version on the SNES with the blue.
As a game, though, it was pretty terrible.
Oh, terrible! But it wasn't as bad as Mad Dog McGree on the CDI.
Oh well, on the CDI, yes. In the arcade, it was great fun.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Yeah, they even released it on mobile. There's a mobile version of that, or was on Android.
Mad Dog McCree was basically a video, and all would happen was you'd have a video intro, and then you'd have a static video background, and then you'd have video cowboys come in, going and aiming at you, and you'd have to shoot them, and then if you hit them, you'd have a video of them going.
And if you got shot, you had the Undertaker go. He'd be like measuring you up for your casket and say, "Oh, you died, man."
But the CDI version,
not the actual WWF Undertaker.
No, the CDI version, unfortunately, couldn't react quick enough.
It was more the gun
as good, and the gun wasn't very
good. The actual game was brilliant, but the gun just didn't react well. They've actually done an updated gun, Sunbrew gun now, which works superbly well. So the original one would have a light sensor that would sit above or below your TV.
Oh yes, I saw about this. There's a gun that you can get all things to work on modern LCD games.
Right, yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's not cheap. It's definitely for people who are big retro fans, or rich.
If you're
it's about £150.
It's a lot. If you liked light guns, there was a console released about 1991, I think. It was called the Action Max, and it basically had a VHS cassette that played video. Then it had a function that would connect to the VHS player and had a light gun, and then the sensor would go under the TV, and you would shoot the things on the thing, and then it would react. It would pick it up, and then it would move to certain points on the VHS cassette, and they would sell these things as this futuristic game system. It was horrendous.
I was going to say it.
Oh, it was awful.
Could you imagine it having to rewind? Like, hang on a minute. That person's going to die. You shot them. Don't worry.
It was terrible. I remember finding one at a boot sale box for about £10 a couple of years back, and I thought
worth something, though, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I looked at it and I thought, I should get one of these, but then I realised it was VHS, and I thought,
no. Going back to Martin's one that he said, I'm sorry, but we didn't go on to that. Best light gun game ever, Point Blank, easily. I worked at a bowling alley that had that, and I used to put so much money into it, and also
shooting game, but mini. It's like
it was Wario. It was Wario Party or Mario Party light gun version. Yeah. It was so good.
Never played
it.
And
it was 2-player as well. So you'd have, you'd have verses, and it was scores. So you'd have things that popped up, and it would be red targets, blue targets, red targets, and you'd have to shoot red, and you'd lose points for shooting the blue, kind of thing. Vice versa.
It was like mini games, wasn't it? But around guns.
So good. Yeah. Possibly, again, one of my favourite arcade. God, there's so many good arcade games.
In Southend, we have this very old, you must know this one, Duncan. we have this very old shooting range game with air rifles. It's not a computer game. It has an old man.
Physical ones.
Yeah, it has an old man sitting in a chair, and then little animals. And when you shoot the light gun pellets out of this rifle, it causes him to spit something into the bucket. Then the rabbit pipes up and then squirts water and things like that. It's been there since I was about 4 and then some. So we're talking at least.
Is that still in Adventure Island? Is it?
No, it's still in one of the arcades.
Oh, okay.
The back of one of the arcades. It's been there.
Yes.
That's the original.
We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue.
It's one of the. It's based off a light gun system, but it's not a computer game. So it's
the physical ones. Right.
It's an experience.
Did you know, the two of you, that there was a very I don't know what far it got in terms of being distributed, but there was an arcade game that was basically, let's face it, a lady's bottom with legs, and the whole game of it was you had to, I want to say violate. You had to spank it, hit it, and all sorts. And that was the game. You apparently on the screen you had. I've obviously never seen it. I've only ever heard of this. You had to. You had the mother-in-law or the wife, and literally, it was a game where you had to abuse a butt. And that was a video game, and that's the kind of thing. I think it might have even not been Japanese. I think it might have even been Thai or South Korean or something like that. But some of the weird ones that I've heard about. So would you actually would you pay to violate a derriere of a lady?
No.
Please say no.
No, because we're talking on a public platform.
Exactly. No, that is an actual thing, though. If you look it up,
ask me when we finish the podcast.
Yeah, if you look it up, there is an arcade game that was, I think it was quite correctly shot down.
I'm not googling that.
Do you know what's disturbing, Duncan? If you know so much about it.
Yes, please don't. I'm gonna Google it. Violating a woman's derriere.
We're all now concerned about Duncan's internet history. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But if you go by all the physical arcades, you've got the dance ones, Dance Revolution.
Dance Mat. That was
on the PlayStation 1. Yeah, that was a.
Were you any? I can imagine you guys would get on the Dance Mat. Imagine both.
No, I was terrible. Although I did own one because I wanted to try games with the dance mat. So I played fighting games. I've played all sorts.
You could plug it in, couldn't you, and play like Metal Gear Solid?
Yes, yeah.
My friend had it. We tried it, and it
you
like
do
a
have to
good
do
idea at
is,
the time, and then you try it, and you'd be like, "Let's just get the controller out."
There was actually a controller with a ring that you could stand in, and it was built for, I think it might have been Street Fighter 1. I could be wrong on that, but it was for a fighting game, and it allowed you to kick and punch within this virtual ring. And it was terrible, absolutely diabolical, but hey ho, they released it. What about Terminator 2 Arcade?
Oh, what, the Leica one?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, fantastic.
Which was fantastic on the Mega Drive.
I was going to say, was that the same Mega Drive, the game?
Yeah. I mean, the Super Nintendo got a version, but it wasn't as good as the Mega Drive version.
Yeah, there was the Super Scope on the Super Nintendo, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the Menacer on
the Super Nintendo, the Super Scope. I can't remember because I never played either particularly much, but the Super Scope was a lot more accurate. But the games that the Mega Drive, the Genesis had, it had all of them. It had a lot of games. if I remember rightly.
Well, yeah, you could use it with like Lethal Enforcer and Terminator Arcade and
Genesis Operation Wolf.
Yes,
Operation Wolf. Oh my god, the arcade, and it was a proper little Uzi machine gun that
translated
would
really well to the Amstrad. Really well to the Amstrad. Apart from the joystick, that eventually you'd end up like tearing off its base because.
But then, if you played it in the arcade and you played it on the Genesis, you probably played it on the Amstrad going.
Yeah. The only one I would say, actually, going back to what you said originally, Duncan, Turtles Coin Up on the arcade is fantastic on the Amstrad.
Well, it is a fantastic game. I mean, even now with the Shredder's Revenge that came out on consoles earlier this year, I want to say.
I never played that one, but it was earlier this year.
It's a 4-player game, I believe, and it's fantastic game. If you've got 4 friends to play with, those kind of games, easy to play, and it's great fun.
And you had the Turtles compilation that came out on the Switch and the PlayStation. The only difference is it doesn't have the same music or voices. It's a different soundtrack, but still very good.
Well, I think we could talk about. I mean, you talked about Point Blank, and you got Virtua Cop, you got Time Crisis. I mean, one of my favourite ever arcade games, Bishi Bashi Special. I don't know if you play it again. It's like WarioWare with 2 buttons. We could probably talk for about 10 years, to be honest, on arcade games. So many memories, so many good games that have come on to home consoles. And let's not forget all the original ones. Your Space Invaders, your Galaxians, your Donkey Kongs, all that kind of thing. But we have got to. We haven't even done any on this day, and we're over an hour and 6 minutes. But still, I think we will come back to arcades at some point. Maybe we'll have an arcade shooter special or arcade. 80s.
An in-person arcade special in Weston Pier.
Maybe we'll go
That'd be fun.
We'll go to Weston. Maybe we'll go to the wrong pier.
Then there won't be any more podcasts after that date.
Oh no, Duncan's dead. Anyway,
Duncan mud.
Well, on this day, I mean, we'll just do a quick one if you want. Literally on this day, on this week, Dreamcast and Diablo 1. There you go.
Anyone got any comments
on
that? We spoke about Dreamcast quite a bit.
Yes, exactly. We done Dreamcast. We had a Dreamcast special.
We did.
That was episode something or other. Feel free to look back at our old episodes.
That's probably would you say that's like the last console that sort of was very arcade focused?
Ooh, yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
That's my segues today.
In fact, I think they focus massively on bringing all those Daytonas and Mortal Kombats and stuff to that console to make it that kind of pull for the youngsters. I think it really works as well.
Yeah, I think since then, obviously, since the Dreamcast, you've had your PlayStation 2 where story-based action and whatnot, and so I think you're very accurate with that description. So how good are your segues to telling people to like and subscribe?
Well, no, not as good. Not now. No, you've ruined it.
Damn it. Sorry.
Well,
I mean, people probably should then like and subscribe.
They should.
You want to hear more? Like and subscribe. Comment.
Indeed.
Comment as well on what your favourite arcade memories.
And for those that are in the UK, now that you know where we all live, drop us a line.
Yeah. If you go to Weston Pier any day, you'll probably see me.
And we will probably ignore you because that's a bit weird. So.
And we're coming up to our December episode, so I'm sure we'll have more of a Christmas theme coming up.
Wear Christmas jumpers.
Christmas games. Yay.
Yeah. That's it. So
anyway, right.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.